Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Cryptic Conversations. I'm your host, Tunes from the Crypt, and we have another very interesting episode in store for you today. Today we have our first returning guest. So Tamsin, go ahead and introduce yourself again and who you are and what you do.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for having me again. It is such a delight to be having these types of conversations. If you didn't see our previous episode, my name is Tamsin Young. I am the Collective Consciousness Coach, and I work primarily online and have done so for the past 4 years professionally, and just recently opened my own shop for people to come into in person to have these types of conversations as well as healings and readings. So I do a lot within the spiritual world, but it initially started with tapping into the Akashic records, and that has just exploded. And I've been gathering messages from all sorts of spirits and spirit guides on top of galactic teams. So that's just a really small introduction to who I am and what I do.
Awesome. I love it. And congratulations on opening your shop. So where is the shop at?
Western Australia, up in the Kimberley. So it's a very small, remote Indigenous town. It's really beautiful here. It's a very unique part of Australia. It's, on the bucket list of a lot of people's location to visit, and very spiritual country here. Yeah.
Nice. I love it. Okay. So to kick things off, I kind of wanted to give you an update on kind of where I'm at since our last chat. So I think I brought this to your attention. I'm not sure if you remember, but something very strange happened, so obviously, me and you were still getting to know each other and stuff, right? And man, this was weird. So the day of our last episode, that same day, literally right before our podcast, a whole book outline just shot out of me. Like, I need to write a book, like the chapters, the topics, even the name of the book, what the design would look like for the cover of the book. And I'll add that all into the video. So that happened right before our interview together, right? And so the name of the book is going to be New Age Truths. So that was the first weird thing, right? And then during our episode together, you kind of told me that I'm an Arcturian starseed or whatever, or I have a connection to that, and that I have an Arcturian spirit guide, and you blew my mind with that information, right? Then after our episode together, I had to go look into it and look them up. And what is their whole premise? It's about driving in the new age. and then it gets even weirder. So I don't know, people might think I'm crazy, but I'm kind of bad with time or whatever. But like a year ago, I remember I was like going about my day and I felt I had something in my pocket, and I put my hand in my pocket and I pulled out, it's a little, because I have my green screen, but yeah, it's a little blue alien figurine that was just randomly in my pocket. I don't know where it came from. And I always have it in my room, just kind of like sitting there. And so it's like, I don't know, it's just very weird.
That's amazing. And you still have it.
Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know what to make of it, but it's just like very, very weird connections there.
I mean, everything happens for a reason, right? And sometimes we can hold on to things and not quite understand until one day it lands and we go, wow, that's what it is.
Yeah. Very weird. Okay. So this episode, it's going to be a bit more free flowing, but we have a theme for it. And so today we'll be discussing many different things to, help open and expand your mind to the true nature of this reality and the true nature of your expansive soul. So Tamsin, I'd like to ask you, so are you familiar with the concept of simulation theory and how it relates to spiritual beliefs? And what evidence do you have, if any, that this is a simulation that we're living in?
It's a very interesting question because we tend to get a lot of different ideas as of late. And I love that the book that you're wanting to write is New Age Truths. The reality behind our life right now, especially with the internet technology, the advancement of information, as well as the combined of each individual conscious upgrade and expansion, we don't necessarily have the truth to anything except what we individually want to believe, and then that becomes our reality, individual truth. And living in a simulation, I don't necessarily, on top of really anything, have a 100% guaranteed belief, because I like to keep my mind open around it, whatever is, because I don't really like to come from a direction of I'm right. I like to keep the book open and go, everyone's truth is right. I do believe, however, that my truth of this reality is we live on a planet in the solar system. I don't necessarily believe we live behind a screen or a hologram of a simulation behind a computer necessarily, but I have looked into the ideology of it, and I think there are some winning factors here, there, and everywhere.
Yeah, definitely. So I'd like to give you another strange connection, so it's like, I don't know about, yeah, like I kind of agree with you. I don't know about a simulation, but I do kind of believe that this reality is kind of like an illusion. It's kind of like a dream. And another strange connection, throughout my whole life, I feel like I've always been able to see this reality for what it is. And, in recent years, I come to find that the Hindus, they had this term called the Maya. And so the Maya, is that this reality is an illusion. And so even the Aztecs and the Mayans, they see this reality as an illusion, right? And so another strange thing was like, I always wanted a dog growing up, and I didn't get my first dog till 2 years ago. I rescued her. She was 2 years old, and she already had a name. And what was her name? What do you guess her name was? Maya. Her name's Maya.
Maya,
Yeah.
I was just about to say Maya, and I just thought, the idea that, like you're saying, is all these signs, all these synchronicities are aligning to the point of undeniable evidence, undeniable truths for you that are, it kind of feels like it's falling into your lap, right? Confirmation.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. So, another idea that comes to my mind is this quote. I'm not sure if you've heard it. I really like this quote. It's kind of like, so I am you, you are me, and we are we. So it's like I have this idea that the universe, right? The universe, what does that sound like? Universe. It's all just you. You know what I mean? Like we're divine beings, just kind of like, this is like a playground, like this reality, like it's all just you, and I don't know if that makes any sense to you.
It very much connects to a level of education that I went through a couple of years ago and watched a particular video. And this video talks into everything in our own individual reality, our own perception, is aspects of our own infinite universal soul's fragments. So we have then, let's say, just been distributed as like a little molecule into another physical body, but we're all that one big, energy source. And so I believe that over time, thousands and thousands of years, millions of years, we've come to distribute into what we now refer to as soul families. And so we're meeting our own beings, and that's how we feel that connection of like, I feel I know you, but that's because you are me, I am you.
Yeah, it's crazy, like, being on this spiritual awakening journey, just that, like this concept of, before my spiritual awakening, I saw everything as separate, like, living through the ego, real self-centered, right? But after my awakening, like I look at you, and I look at people in everyday life and see like the divine within them, within everyone. We're the collective. You're the collective consciousness coach, right? So we're the collective humanity. We're all one. And it's very mind-blowing when you really think about it.
It's really interesting how mind-blowing it can feel for someone, and then when you get to that point, like you're saying, where it's not that separation, it doesn't actually tend to be as mind-blowing, because we realize that this is a blip in time. And this period that we're living right now, and it's like our higher self, say, or our consciousness or our soul, or we're getting these thoughts drop into our mind of there's no need for separation. There's no need for ego. There's no need for that person's doing that. It's as though we're sitting here going, okay, they have a reason for that. And I can find a understanding as to why they may be doing that, because I am them too. Otherwise, we wouldn't be seeing that stuff. That's the reality, is that we see things for a reason. We experience it. We hear it for a reason. Whether we resonate with it at the time, we don't need to know that reason. And once you come to really allow that to drop in and be your experience of perspective, that's where the Great Awakening is. We are one.
Yeah.
And not just human beings, but earth and animals and nature and water and
everything, all of it.
All of it. Yeah. We are the earth, we are the animals, and we are starting to move very, very closely into the aspect of telepathically communicating with our other earthly beings and outer earthly beings.
Oh, wow. Have you ever done mushrooms before?
No, I haven't actually, but I have heard how expansive they can be for the mind, and I have seen a lot of retreats or mushroom rituals to help. I don't necessarily feel I need any type of assistance because I already have that ability to tap in those chemical compounds of the way that because that's the reality, is that there's different substances. I've looked into a lot of it and what spiritual abilities they can give us in access to communicate. But it's interesting how I can see someone, say I watch a documentary or something along those lines. It's interesting how I can tap into that particular neurotransmitter or that wiring or that subconscious just by viewing somebody else experience it.
Yeah, I was just wondering because, I had a couple experiences in high school when I started to experiment with that stuff, and yeah, telepathy, is like, I remember me and my friend taking them, and it was like we were communicating telepathically, and it was very weird. It was like we would look at each other and we wouldn't even have to say a word to each other. We just kind of knew, like we just would we just knew what we both were thinking, it was very weird. So I'd like to
Did you love it?
Oh yeah, it was cool, I was young though, and I remember, my first mushroom experience. I mean, I haven't done it that many times, maybe in my whole life, maybe like 10 times. But yeah, my first experience, I had my friend, he was a big, tough football player. And, I always looked up to him. He always seemed so tough and all that, right? But we took mushrooms with him and he had a bad trip. So he was physically tough, but mentally he had some stuff going on, and we were sitting in his backyard and he would just he kept asking us what time is it? And then we would tell him hey, it's 4:30 or whatever, and then a minute would go by and they'd be like, hey, what time is it? And he did that 10 times over and over. And then we're like, uh-oh, we think he's kind of having a bad time. And so we kind of helped him out of it. But yeah, it was kind of a weird experience. So definitely, when it comes to psychedelics, they always talk about set and setting. So your mindset, and then the setting is the environment you're in, so you want to be in a good headspace and you want to be around good people and in a good environment. So that way you can have a relatively easy trip, but yeah, there's definitely, you can learn a lot of things, a lot of insights, a lot of downloads, from these plant medicines.
I completely agree. I definitely had my time many years ago when I was going through my experimental phase as well with different substances. And I know exactly what you're talking about when it comes to accessing different portal points. And these substances can just be of assist if done correctly.
Oh, yeah, definitely. So I'd like to ask you, so in your view, what does it mean to you, to break free from the illusion of reality, and how can individuals achieve this?
This question is so expansive that there are times where I have to even pull myself up to simplify it, because for someone to hear this question, and let's say they're just going through their initial spiritual awakening, an answer that I would normally give would kind of just, wash over and just not, integrate. Our illusion the illusion of our reality is that, put simply, and hopefully this is put simply, the illusion to our reality is that we are only given the ability to see and experience and hear things that we're ready to at that
Oh
point in
yeah.
time that we're ready to. And someone might be listening to this going, that connects with me, but I don't get it. And the amount of times that I've heard that, I completely understand, because prior, and you, I'm sure, would resonate with this, prior to my spiritual awakening, I'd heard stuff and it just went straight over my head, and I just didn't really
Oh yeah.
necessarily
Oh yeah.
care to do my own inner work, or my, education, or, my self-study, or, connect with other people that also enjoy talking about this stuff. So that is probably one of the biggest things, that suggestions I would make in order to help you get to this point, to hear, maybe advanced explanations, is communicate with other people and talk about the things that go on up here. Because we have, over the past, 100 years probably, been ridiculed for expressing what's up here. I felt crazy. I isolated myself. I, like mentioned before, used substances to numb it, because I was like, I don't fit in. I feel like a black sheep. But a lot of us think the same things, because you are me and I am you. It's just whether we feel confident enough to actually find someone or groups and communities of people to talk to about this stuff. The illusion is based on your constant thoughts and emotions. So how you allow your body to feel after you've constantly thought about something over and over again. If your mind is thinking, I'm depressed, I'm going to drink today, no one likes me, your emotions are going to actually dictate no one liking you and the bottle in your hand. That's how your
Yeah.
reality is going to turn out. And that's you're creating that illusion. And like said last time, is that we don't create abundance, we create limitations. The
Yeah.
reality is that our illusion is based on our own choices, our own thoughts and emotions, implemented action. And then in turn, we create that. We manifest that within our reality. And that's our illusioned reality, good or bad,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I love that answer. So kind of in line with that too. So how do you interpret the idea of ascending to higher dimensions and levels of consciousness? In the spiritual community, we're always talking about ascension, right? So if you could talk about that a little bit.
Ascension is there's many levels and layers to ascension. Ascension can simply be, say you're in a dark place, say you've got habits and behaviors, or you're in an environment or a surrounding that you aren't genuinely happy with. The simplest way to help you ascend to the next level of joy or happiness or fun is simply to just continue to remind yourself that it's you against you, and that you have to become your own hero, your biggest cheerleader, and just simple affirmations or mantras. And that, to me, and then you ascend to the next level, because ascension doesn't have to be to go to the 12D and talk to galactic tribes. Ascension can simply be slowly moving your way up the conscious emotional levels, because the scale of consciousness is bound by the emotion. So I'm not sure if you've seen the triangle chart, where down the bottom it's things like anger, fear, guilt, shame,
Yeah.
worry. All our consciousness is bound by human emotion. So if you're constantly feeling and thinking fear, guilt, shame, anger, you are going to be on a low level of consciousness, and you're not
Mm,
going to ascend. But if you start to bring your emotions and your personal thoughts to let's say, a medium where you feel content, you feel balanced, you feel okay, then you can go to the next ascension level, which is, happiness and joy, love, enlightenment. And so I wouldn't suggest for anyone that might be, on the low level to want to ascend to enlightenment, because that's a lot of steps that you skip. And, then it can come into the shadow work and the inner work, and that can be really freaking hard too. And it'll drop you down again.
Oh, yeah.
So it's really about just understanding how you talk to yourself, how you treat yourself, and then slowly moving your way up the emotional chart.
Yeah, I love that. So, looking back on your life, like how would you describe your ascension process?
It has been a challenge, and it's really interesting to look back on my life, really quick timeline. I grew up as a child. I was born in a domestic violent household. We then escaped. I then had to change my identity as a child, go into hiding, women's refuges. Through the schooling system. And then, when I was 21, I skipped a bit. Probably from 16 to 21, I was substance abuse, numbing everything, feeling crazy, isolated, had no real friends, but, hung out with a lot of people. Did go through major spiritual awakenings, but didn't really understand it, so didn't really care too much for it. 21, changed my birth certificate, my identity back, and felt like I could become safe.
Oh, wow.
In living in public. And then I just one day ended up in hospital. Not really ended up. I broke 4 ribs and I died in hospital one night, and I spoke to God, and I knew at that point that I had died. And then they, my spirit team or my past loved ones and God, and on that cloud, they all kind of sung to me and said, you have a choice. You're here for a reason, because you're there now. You're here now anyway. Or if you come back, you have to start fulfilling your purpose. And so from that next day, I was out of hospital and I started implementing things. And, then the challenges come up, the shadow work, the inner work. And I had to refine myself again at 21, which really wasn't, that old. But for a 21-year-old that's, said that she died after she had just created a life of herself as substance abuse and, couch surfing and using. I was an addict. And, I then started to make really ballsy, courageous moves. And I moved on the other side of the country, and I went and worked on an isolated cattle station. And then I met my partner there, and then we've had kids. But every action that I've taken since for the last 10 years has been guided by spirit, or at least I've been listening to the thoughts in my mind, and very courageous, because I detached from the outcome. I didn't set expectations for myself. I just wanted to live in joy and happiness. Whatever I'm doing, there is a bigger reason for it, and I am protected and guided. And then here I am. So trusting has been a major aspect of the last 10 years.
Wow. Yeah, thank you for sharing that story again. You definitely have a beautiful story coming out of trauma and learning how to navigate through all that, so would you define yourself as a starseed? And can you define the term starseeds? What significance do they hold in life? And, how do you know if you are a starseed? How can the listeners, know if they are a starseed?
Do I define myself as a starseed? Yeah, I do. However, I am also very aware that I am me. I am Tamsin. I am a human. And I don't put all my energy into being a, enlightened starseed and all that woo-woo kind of aspect, because I love who I am in this timeline right now. And I connected with a Palladian woman one night when I was sleeping in my dream world. However, by this time, I had known that my dream world, my human sleeping body, is a lot more in tune and connected to the real aspects of our existence. So not just our human experience, but our existence. And I receive messages and downloads and I track them. And that's then when I was told one night in my sleep that I am a galactic messenger. So as the experience is in this timeline right now as a starseed or galactic messenger, how can you tell that you're a starseed? If you hear this term, this is as simple as it is. If you hear this term, or if you go and do a little bit of self-study and research, and you in your heart or resonate or relate or recognize, if you feel that, this is familiar or you enjoy it or you like it, you are amongst the starseed tribes. You are a starseed. What are starseeds? Starseeds are simply a term, a name that we, interdimensional, multidimensional beings within the galaxy, the universe, our solar system, and they are just extraterrestrials. As humans give terminologies to things, they are just our extraterrestrial beings.
Yeah, wow, I love that. So what are some of the main tribes? Obviously, so like there's Arcturians, there's Pleiadians. Talk about some of the main tribes.
The three top tribes that I've connected with that I see in humans a lot, because I also do starseed readings for people and then connect them to their tribe. The three that I see is Pleiadians, Arcturians, and Lyrans. So Lyrans or Lyra. The other starseed tribes are the Orion, Reptilian, Styrian, off the top of my head, Andromeda. The Pleiadians and Arcturians are the two tribes here bound by Earth in order to help connect each conscious antenna to the galactic tribes. So those are the two that we are going to start seeing, in which we probably already have if you tend to follow UFO sightings.
Yeah, so what would you say is some of the physical characteristics of, let's say, Pleiadians and Arcturians?
This is a really interesting question, because I don't know if there is any physical characteristics. It's more about the feelings that I get when I come across someone and I can see their aura, I can see their soul, I can see their energy, and starseed beings, light codes can come through in many different characteristics or physical traits. So because they are infinite energy, as starseeds are infinite energy, they can kind of come in and drop into any physical being. So physical characteristics aren't necessarily identifying. However, it's the feelings that we will get.
Okay, yeah. So taking it even a step further. So can you talk to the listeners about the Galactic Council of Light, or the Galactic Federation?
There is a particular tribe of beings that live in what we can describe in English term as a big UFO, right? A big spaceship, a big and the Galactic Federation, the Galactic Council of Light, are made up of very, very powerful beings within our galaxy. So, for example, I have gone up and I've gone inside this, spaceship, the home base just outside of our Earthbound, and met the leaders within the leaders that introduced me. and they are made up of different starseed beings. So let's say in a different planet, we have the Palladians, and there is a really strong, powerful Palladian leader within that starseed tribe who was asked to make a soul contract to watch the Earth and be a part of the Galactic Federation. So there have been different tribes come together to make a contract to protect Earth, to help Earth, and to guide Earth and oversee, overwatch, because over time, humans have been given free will to do and be how they see fit. And so the Galactic Federation are just simply made up of multiple different tribes within our galaxy that are incredibly powerful and have the purpose within their timeline now to do so.
Yeah, wow, this is far out stuff, like some people are gonna, hear this and be like, what are you talking about? But I've even seen online, I forget the name of the guy, but there's a politician out there, like he was in with the CIA or the FBI. He was in the United States government somehow. But he was talking about, that no, this is a real thing. You can look it up online, and he's talking about the Galactic Council, man. So
they are showing themselves. And so from the big, mothership, say, the best way to describe this is, how a big cruise ship goes out, and on this cruise ship, they have multiple other little boats that they can get onto to then go onto the island. So this mothership has multiple other little spaceships that come out and then hover over the Earth, or can end up crashing on the Earth. And that's when we are having far, far more UFO sightings and alien sightings.
Are there a lot of UFO sightings in Australia?
Yeah, there is. I've seen a couple of very interesting things in our skies. However, the other major significant thing to remember is that because these beings of light, when they come in, they actually have the ability to turn their, let's say, machinery or their selves invisible. So because we are all just beings of light, they can then disappear. So although, like you're saying, politicians or, CIA or, different government sources have said that there's places like Area 51 and that they've got aliens in lockup, aliens can turn, they just disappear. So, but the matter of the fact of, this information coming out is purely just to get us ready to integrate and live together within the next level of human conscious evolution, to live amongst the other beings within our galaxy.
Wow, I love that. Yeah, I've definitely heard that they have, the technology. It's like a cloaking technology to where that, they can become invisible. So I'm open to the idea for sure, So also, I know that one of your core beliefs is the concept of, like we just talked about, multidimensional life. Can you elaborate on this some more?
To be completely honest, the reality is that a multidimensional life or experience or existence purely comes down to the fact that believing that this isn't our only life. That's the reality. We can talk very high and different types of concepts of multidimensional in general, but to believe that this one existence, this one life here now is not the only one, then it allows us to be able to move more into a space of knowing that we have multiple lives. We have parallel lives. We have the Akashic records. We have multiple purposes. But the multiverse, the multidimensional realms, is merely just to believe that we aren't just here and now. You know, the concept of everything is happening simultaneously at this present moment means that we could come across, have you ever had, and this is a question to really help people to understand this. Have you ever had a moment where someone has said to you, hey, I saw you at the shops last week and I didn't stop you? And then you go, I wasn't at the shops. Or someone says, hey, I thought you were there. Or, you know, I saw your doppelganger. Or, you know, this person looked like you. Or have you met someone and you thought, far out, that's a mirror of me? We are coexisting our multiple, and sometimes it can be exactly the same parallel life as we are. And that is the multi-dimensional universe.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, that concept of parallel lives just like blows my mind. And as well as you're talking about timeline splits and timeline jumps. Can you talk about that a little bit more?
Timeline splits and timeline jumps. Say someone's listening to this right now and they're going through their spiritual awakening and they're really realizing that there's more out there, you know, there's more information to be learnt. And then this information drops in and it lands and it integrates and they go, holy shit. And then they can go from, let's say, here to here and quantum leap. And then you quantum leap to the next phase of your own conscious evolution, your individual conscious evolution. And so you could timeline jump to that next level of who you're meant to be in a split second, you know, in a minute, in an hour. Sometimes it takes weeks, months, or years. But that timeline, there is a version of you out there that already knows all this information. You're just waiting to receive it, hear it, feel it, and then you jump timelines to that next best version. Or that next version, it doesn't need to be the best version, but that next version of yourself. Loops, timeline loops, can sometimes be, say, for example, you're going through some shadow work, you're trying to move through grief and trauma, and you're learning the lessons, you're trying to face, you know, the fears, the personal limitations, and you hope to, let's say you hope to, you know, overcome these obstacles and challenges, and you try and skip a lesson in the making. You'll loop back around because you will never skip a lesson. You can never skip a lesson in life because this current reality for each and every one of us is an experiment to see how much we can handle. As challenging and sometimes frustrating that is to hear, we are here to learn the lessons because this is the school of life. And we will loop back around until we actually learn it. And then that's when we'll get to that phase where we can go and quantum leap through timelines and reach that next version of ourselves.
Wow. Yeah, that was a great explanation. Very simplified, very dumbed down. So I get it now. Yeah, for me, my timeline loop, looking back on my life was, you know, I'm sure you can relate to, was all my drinking and all my partying. You know, it was like I had to get in trouble enough times where finally it was like, dude, you know what? Enough is enough, you know? And so, and like you said, I had to learn that lesson, or else, you know, circumstances were going to continue to be thrown my way until I learned. So, I'd also like to ask you, you know, so how do you interpret the transition into the age of Aquarius, you know, and what changes do you foresee in this new era?
This year is going to be all around the magic. It is about tapping back in to our inner child belief systems. And although we have, you know, low level 3D matrix reality playing out, and we might have to go to work, you know, we might have to do the things that we don't find a lot of joy in. Every day, each one of us are going to start seeing and hearing more reasons to experience the magic within. And from there, we're going to start thinking about, why are we seeing this? You know, we're going to have these inner thoughts. Why are we seeing that, all these people are doing great, or all these people are thinking positively? And that's going to encourage us to do so as well. From there, we are going to see a far, far, far more manifestations happening quicker. And like I just mentioned, the quantum leaps, the thoughts and emotions that we actually create an energy upon are going to happen quicker. So let's say you want a new car or a new house, or, like you mentioned, you've always wanted a dog. These last 2 years have been building us up to having almost instantaneous manifestations. So we're going to start seeing a major shift in people maybe leaving their traditional mainstream employments. We're going to start seeing far more communities coming, or people coming together. So a lot more retreats, or gatherings, or circles, or people doing the work. And so I'm seeing a lot more people doing things like yoga, meditation, moon rituals. I'm seeing more people come together, and the Age of Aquarius is all around building back that connection with each other. So now we're coming back together regardless, because we know the power is within each one of us.
Yeah, I love that. There's definitely a lot of speculation on the exact dates of the Age of Aquarius, but many scientists believe that we are currently living through the transition. And I can definitely relate to you as well, and seeing a lot of manifestation, even in my own life. And I think I saw it for you too, right? Like, didn't you get a new car and now you got the office? I also got my dream car recently, and I never would have imagined that I would have ever had that car, and it's like,
Yeah.
yeah. So
Yeah. It's massive.
I'd like to ask you too. So what is your view on solar cycles, and how do they influence spiritual and energetic phenomena on Earth?
We're experiencing a very fast speed right now, very, very fast. So solar cycles can come in and allow us to either take accountability to slow down or to speed up. And so it has to be our own individual choice on how we listen to our body and our mind. If we choose to go down the path of listening within the solar cycles, then that's, what we do as individuals. What should we really be doing in regards to knowing when is the right time? It's one of those things where we need to individually understand what's best for us. I think, sometimes there are a lot of people out there that do, really strategize their life around, the solar systems and how it impacts them. However, I feel like every single day we should have motions of slow and, implemented action. Every single day we should, start to track how it is that we're looking after ourselves. And that's the inner work. So if there's something you're passionate by in order to follow solar systems and astrology, then definitely do so. I just think it comes down to our own passion and purposes in the way that we look after ourselves.
Okay, yeah, I love that answer. So you were messaging me, and so in preparing for this episode together, you were talking about the concept of spiritual walk-ins, and I've heard this concept before as well. Can you explain that concept and share any examples or experiences that you might have encountered?
I have had, when I was in my younger years, late teens, early 20s, unconscious, involuntary walk-ins,
Oh, wow.
where at the time, yeah, where at the time I didn't know what was going on. I didn't have that knowledge of that was what was happening. When I went through my Great Awakening, my next level of evolution within my consciousness about 4 years ago, I experienced another walk-in, and it was more so voluntary. So I allowed it to happen, but there were levels of it where I was like a bit scared, because, you tend to feel you can feel like you don't have any control as your own, physical human mind and body. It is a concept that I don't suggest anyone just practice, because you need to have a very, very strong spiritual hygiene and protection around you. So if implementing connections via walk-in is something that, intrigues you, I would first work on your own spiritual protection. If you have had walk-ins that may be involuntary, what I would suggest is to try and then go into a meditative state after and remember why it happened. What an actual walk-in is where another being or spirit taps into your third eye and then takes over. You'll see that they start talking through you, they start implementing actions. So it can sometimes also be described as being possessed or, haunted, or someone, we see these things in churches, right? How the they kind of shake out the spirit and say, you're not welcome in this body. And it can happen to a lot of people, especially those that might drink a lot or take a lot of, let's say, heavy. Because they're opening.
Yeah, I could believe that for sure. Because when you think about it, like alcohol, people who drink, what do they call it? Spirits, beer, wine, and spirits. I don't know. Do they call it spirits in Australia? Over here they refer to liquor as like spirits. So yeah, very, very strange. So on that note, like, what advice do you have for individuals seeking to deepen their spiritual connection or understanding?
I would like to reflect on the Age of Aquarius, and right now is continue to build your communities, continue to connect and reach out. Sometimes a conversation can not just change your life, but spark and ignite different thoughts within you. So communicate. Let's keep connecting and communicating. I give you permission to let that resistance go and do it. Let go of expectation and worry and judgment, because people like us are here without judgment, right? We're not going to say, you're a bit crazy. No, we're not. We're here to say we are holding a safe space. And if you're listening to this and you feel like you don't have anyone around, or, life isn't going so great, tomorrow could be different. You have absolutely no idea what tomorrow holds. And to keep going, I think that's the biggest thing, is that we just need to keep going and trusting and listening and honoring that our self-talk is not just within us, and stepping out of your comfort zone, getting comfortable with your uncomfortable. Getting comfortable with your uncomfortable will lead you to courageous moves and action. And knowing that we're all here for a reason, we have a purpose, whether we know it now or not, we've all been put here for some major, major mission.
Yeah, I love that. I agree with you for sure. So I'd like to ask you too. So are there any emerging trends or developments in spirituality that you find particularly exciting or noteworthy?
I would like to answer this question on a bit of an opposite, actually. There are a lot of new age spiritual teachings that aren't great. There are a lot of new age spiritual people out there that are encouraging others to open their energy levels up, connect with source, connect with spirit, but don't first teach spiritual hygiene. Don't teach spiritual protection, that don't teach each other to actually connect to our human. The biggest emerging teaching that I would like to continue to put out there, that I feel is very necessary, is the more that we look after ourselves and love ourselves, the the more that we can teach other people how to do that for themselves as well. And don't de-associate yourself from your human. You know, we have a lot of new age teachings that are talking about the 12 dimension. We've all got to go to the 12 dimension. And that can be a little bit toxic because, like I mentioned earlier, it's not that easy. And we're here to learn lessons and experience the levels of this human life. And so loving that you are human, you know, acknowledging that you are human.
Yeah.
We have this ability now to continue sparking conversations and educating and sharing stories. And so things that come up, you have to feel into whether it resonates with you or not. And don't feel guilty if it doesn't, because you hear things for a reason. And you know, someone listening might come back to this episode in 2 weeks, 3 months, 5 years and say, holy shit, now it hits. So don't feel guilty about it not resonating right now, but enjoying it. Just simply enjoy. And, you know, you can go to circles, you can go to groups, you can go to moon rituals, you can do all the work, but don't detach yourself from being human and enjoying this ride.
I love that. I love that so much. You know, like, yeah, there's just so much information out there, and we get so caught up with all these new teachings and all that. It's like, it's okay to slow down and just be present and enjoy this life. So I definitely agree with you there. So I'd also like to ask you, you know, kind of closing it out, you know, your rebirth program, you know, it looks awesome. And I know you mentioned that you're growing it. So can you explain what this program is again, and, you know, and what additions you've made to it?
This program for me is practically my life's work. I've given all my teachings, everything that I have implemented throughout every single day of my life, what I do to look after my mind, body, and soul, what I feed myself in regards to my mind, you know, because your diet isn't just what you eat and put into your digestive system or build your immune system, is what you feed your mind, what you feed your eyes, what you look at, also then implants a picture in your mind. So I go through methods and structures on what we can do every single day to look after our mind, body, and soul, tasks, activities. And then I go into things like connecting with your spirit guides, how to, you know, do your energy protection, how to travel the multi-dimensions. It is so expensive. There is a guided meditation. There's 5 workbooks. I think they're about 16 to 18 pages each. There's 5 videos, which go from 20 minutes to about 50 minutes. And activities that you can carry with you forever and continue to do over and over again until it becomes a natural neurotransmitter that then helps to articulate and encourage your manifestation reality. And this is available on a teachable site where you, if you buy into this and you purchase this rebirth program, you get access for life, because I believe that everyone should, you know, get access to this evergreen material, because like I said, you know, we can continue to come back to it. And it is structured as a bit of a 5-week program. So you can go through the video and the content, the materials, the homework, the activities every week for 5 weeks. Or if you do it all in one day, then that's your choice, and then you get access to it all. I have had a lot of people go through this program and print off the workbooks and save the videos on their, you know, computer and watch them over and over again. I go into Galactic Federation star seeds, you know, all the information that I am passionate about and that I work with every single day. So there's a link in to purchase it. It is currently discounted to only $333 Australian dollars. With the value, energy, and time that I've put into this program, and how long it actually took me to actually put it all together and create it, my digital marketer has said that it is fairly valued at about $5,500.
Wow.
And
Okay.
it's only going at the moment discounted to 333. So it's pretty incredible.
Nice, nice. Yeah. So for the listeners out there, if you're at the beginning of your spiritual journey or you feel called, I definitely think this is a good place to start is by purchasing her rebirth program. And I'll add a link to the description of the video so the listeners can check that out. So yeah, kind of closing it out, Tamsin, can you leave the listeners with the final message of love and healing?
There is so much that I could say in regards to what could help. So if you look after you, the world will be a better place. Just worry about how it is that you're impacting or filling your cup. And then be of service and provide and impact others from the overflow. And then if you encourage someone else to do that and they do that, then it makes such a significant difference within the world. So that would be my biggest healing modality to teach right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah, I love that. Very, very simple, very short and sweet, not to overcomplicate things. Let's all focus on our own lives, focus on healing ourselves. And that's just like a ripple effect that branches out into people in our network, our friends, our families, our communities, and we can drive this thing forward. So I want to thank you, Tamsin, for meeting with me today. Thank you for providing such great wisdom and insights on this show. I want to thank the listeners for sticking around to the end. So Tamsin, once again, please tell everyone where to find your information, and I'll also add it to the description of the video.
We are all here for a reason. So I really, really do thank you as well for doing the work that you do. So if you want to find me on socials, you can find me under Tamsin Young on my personal profile, Facebook page. I share all sorts of stuff, and I like to build a personal based business because, like I said, we're all human. We're all here for a reason. You can also find me on Facebook under Collective Consciousness Coach. I have a open public Facebook page or a private group. And my website, www.collectiveconsciousnesscoach.com, Instagram, TikTok, all of them, all the same.
Awesome. All right. Thank you so much.